Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about recognizing familiar cycles. This is super important in your journey because I feel like once you begin to recognize and just become aware of the familiar cycles that you're feeling or that you're putting yourself in, the different scenarios that you're going through, I feel like it's a lot easier to pinpoint what you actually need to change as opposed to just looking at this big task of like, oh my gosh, I got to turn my whole life around, or like, oh my gosh, I got to quit every bad habit right now, and I can never do this again, I can never do that again, I need to get rid of this, get rid of that, da, da, da. Like, it's just so much. And I feel like because I've been in a position where now I am working for myself and I'm just really starting to be aware and alone, and I'm starting to recognize like the own thoughts and the own habits that I have and the repetitive cycles that I'm experiencing throughout the day. And as I've done this for the past month, it's like I can really pinpoint, like I said before, the areas in which I need to change, or even the mindset and the energy that needs to change within me in order to create the true transformation and true change that I'm trying to make. And even now, as I'm saying it too, it's not even necessarily a transformation because everything that we have is already within us. And it sounds so corny to say. I swear every cliche is like true, but everything that we're trying to become and trying to be and trying to do is literally already within us. And it's more so unlocking and allowing and releasing everything that we don't want to be and focusing our energy on everything that we already are, if that makes sense. So let's talk about cycles. I'll give an example too, within my own personal life, which is what I like to do. So when I was working my 9 to 5, I was making $700 per week as a driver. And I wouldn't even say stressed about bills, but I just feel like I always needed help. I always needed more. Like it wasn't enough. You know what I'm saying? And I always had this feeling in the back of my mind. And I wasn't disciplined enough, because with my situation and with what I was going through, I could have been a lot more disciplined. I could have saved up. I could have paid off debts. I could have done all of these different things. But because I was comfortable and because I wasn't focused on doing that, I would just continue to spend my money and continue to be, for lack of better words, really irresponsible, like with my money, with myself, with my goals, with my visions, because I was comfortable and I just felt like, I don't know, I kind of put myself in this like area of victimhood, like, well, I always need help. I always need this. I always need that. I never have this. I never have that. And that was a common theme and cycle. And the reason why I mentioned, how much I made and what I was doing is because, again, one of those themes was not having enough money. I always felt like I had enough to pay the bills and then nothing really more than that, like enough to pay the bills, enough to like go out to eat. But I wasn't doing much more than that, than spending my money on food and spending my money on like my bills and like my bare necessities that I needed. And so because of that, it created this almost like resentment and this tension within my workplace because I felt like, oh, I shouldn't be here. I could be doing more. I could be earning more money. I could be doing better. Like, what is the point of me even being here? I can barely even pay my bills. I'm staying with family right now. Like, if I wasn't, I wouldn't even be able to afford to live. And I just had a super negative attitude, right? And so imagine that scenario and everything that I just said, all those thoughts swirling through my head as I'm working this job. And then I get fired, right? And so after getting fired, I still had my business that I have right now, which is what I'm fully focusing on and working on. And within the first week of that business, I made more than I would have during a week at my old 9 to 5, right? And it's been a month since I got fired from that job, and I've actually made more than I would have at my 9 to 5 than I did at my current position in working for myself right now. So I made more money, right? I have more freedom. I don't go off of a schedule. I can do what I want to do throughout the day. But I noticed that for the first couple of weeks, especially, I was still having the same thoughts. I got fired right before the first. And when the first was coming around, I'm just like, fuck, like, how am I going to pay my rent? How am I going to pay my bills? And I ended up having this moment of clarity where I was like, worrying is not going to do anything. I just released and I let go, and I did not worry about what happened. And it ended up working out. And last minute, I ended up getting a client that was enough to cover my rent and cover the things that I needed to cover. But as the weeks went on, that was short lived. And I was worried once again. And I would wake up with this harsh feeling on my chest. And now it's even more magnetized because, again, I'm working for myself. I don't have a steady paycheck coming in. I'm just depending on myself and my business. And so I was continuing to have these thoughts. I was thinking to myself, like, oh my gosh, I can't go here because I don't have enough money, and I can't go there and I can't do that. And I only made this much. Okay, I need to get this many clients. It was like all these thoughts were going through my head. And by the second week, I started to recognize, like, I was worried about money and not having enough when I did have a job. Now I'm worried about money and not having enough as I'm working for myself. And then today is August 4th right now. The first came up, and again, it was those same issues and those same problems. And I was thinking to myself again, like, man, I need another client. If I don't get another client, I'm not gonna be able to pay my rent, and I'm not gonna be able to do this and do that. I should have had more money saved. Why did I do this? Why didn't I do that? Mind you, a whole month has passed since I've been in the employee 9 to 5 environment. And so as the end of the month of July came up, I was just thinking to myself, like, if I'm having these same thoughts about money and about scarcity, and I'm just using money as an example because it's super common and I feel like a lot of people can relate to it. But if I was having these same thoughts about money and same thoughts about not having enough in one scenario, in one position, and I'm having it in another, then it's not about the job. It's not about the business. There is something within me, something within my mind that is manifesting and bringing about these situations. And it's so real. And every single time that I have relaxed, the very few days that I have, right, because I'm still learning, but every single time that I've been able to relax and I've been able to focus my energy on what I do have and focus on the positive and focus on my skills and having fun and just being more relaxed, $1,000 days, or I've had 3 people reach out, or I've had all these things start coming in, and it's just clear as day. And like I said, I'm fortunate because I'm working for myself right now, and I don't have the stresses of being on a schedule or a 9 to 5, or the stresses and certain pressures of life that other people might not, other people might experience. I don't have kids either, so it's like I have a lot less responsibility than a lot more people, but I think anybody can relate to this in their own way. And so I'm sharing this experience again, not even to brag or not even to say that I'm like, oh, I'm doing great. I'm like, I'm exactly where I want to be, because I wouldn't say that I am right now, but I know what I need to do in order to become the person that I know that I can be, become the person that I know that I am. And now I see the cycles and I see the thought processes and I see the wheels turning, and I catch myself a lot sooner too, because I'm starting to recognize once again, it wasn't about the job. It wasn't about the scenario. It's literally about my mindset, my perspective, and my energy, and what I am projecting onto these scenarios and what I am choosing to believe is true, right? Because if I was working that job and I chose to believe, oh, I'm never going to make enough money, it's never going to be enough, I'm always going to be behind, I'm always going to have just barely enough, that is what was going to happen, right? If I came into my business and thought, okay, this is just going to be really difficult and hard, I'm going to have trouble getting clients, I'm going to have trouble doing this, trouble doing that, that's literally what is going to happen, because that is what I'm telling myself. And subconsciously, right, your subconscious mind cannot differentiate between what is real and what is fake. So if you are imagining being short on bills, getting kicked out of your house, having to get evicted, having, not enough money, having to depend on others, call on others, sleep on a couch, if you're imagining these scenarios over and over and over and over again in your mind throughout the day, subconsciously that's going to seek in, and they're going to be like, your subconscious mind is just going to be like, okay, well, this must be what you want, because this is what you're continuously thinking about and focusing on, right? That's the same with my scenario. I was continuously thinking about and focusing on the lack, or what I didn't have, or what I wasn't doing, or what I wasn't accomplishing the entire time. Like, this has been for the last year heavy. And so I feel like in a way, me getting fired was almost a blessing, because it forced me to get removed from a situation where I was just really negative, and it forced me to put myself into a different mindset, because like I said, now it's just me. And I can tell myself too, like, I can tell I don't want to go back to a regular 9 to 5, and it's not knocking anybody who works a 9 to 5. I'm not like talking like I'm so far removed or like I'm doing so amazing and perfect. And like I said, I still have a lot of progress that I need to make, but I can already tell that I don't want to go back to a 9 to 5, or that I don't want to put myself in certain situations, because I know myself now. I can clearly feel and see like the cycles of familiarity and the cycles that keep repeating and keep me stuck in a certain frequency that I claim that I don't want to be in, right? I say it out loud. I don't want to be in it. I can talk as much as I want, write down as much as I want, write down my goals, write down how much I don't want to be in a certain frequency and how I want to be abundant and how I want to be prosperous and all these different things. But if my energy does not match that, it's never going to outpace what's happening around me. You know what I'm saying? Like, if my energy is not in that of being abundant, or not in that of actually striving and trying to change and trying to understand, like, okay, whenever I think this way, this happens. So I need to work on not thinking this way, or I need to figure out the root of that, or I need to release that behavior and figure out why I do this genuinely and honestly, not just in a fake way, not in just, okay, I'll do this and then something good happens, then I just go back to what I was doing before, but in a real way, right? Figuring that out, I feel like is I kind of lost the plot here a little bit, guys, because I'm excited. But I feel like figuring that out and working on that energetically is something that you can't fake. And once the energy matches, right? Because I talked about before how the 3D is the effect, not the cause. So once you have your energy change, that changes the cause, right? And then in the 3D, things start working out a little differently too. And I'm just seeing it clear as day, like I said. And I just wanted to make this video to like remind people, if you're in a similar situation as me, to where it's just like you're starting to recognize like, okay, it's not this person that's doing something to me. It's not that person or that scenario or this or that or the other. It's literally me doing this to myself through my own energy and by putting myself in these cycles. I wanted to remind you of that, by making this video, that it's possible to change and that you recognizing these cycles is a good thing. And then I also wanted to make it for people who maybe you're not sure why you're going through the things that you're going through, or maybe things keep happening, but you haven't connected the dots yet. Like you haven't been able to sit down and say, okay, I'm getting in relationships with people who treat me like crap or who don't do things the way that I want to do it or the way that I want to feel loved. And I'm not trying to control this other person, but I'm just recognizing that similar themes have been popping up in my dating life or in my financial life or in my workspace or with my family and friend relationships. Like, look at the cycle and look at your energy. Like, these lessons and these familiar cycles are popping up for a reason, because it's trying to teach you something. And you will continue, it sounds so corny to say, but you will literally continue to go through the same scenarios and go through the same issues and have the same problems over and over and over again. It'll just change clothes. It'll just change people. It'll just change amounts, right? If you're worried about being $30 short every single week, then it's not going to matter if you're $5 short, you're still short. You know what I'm saying? So these cycles, like I said, bringing it back to the original point, these cycles are coming up to you for a reason, and they're coming up for you for a reason. And oftentimes you're manifesting them yourself, either knowingly or unknowingly. And another perspective too is that maybe subconsciously you're manifesting these scenarios so that you can recognize the pattern and then change it. Okay, so that's all I wanted to talk about in this video. I was really excited because this video has been on my mind for a couple of days, but I just didn't necessarily know how to word it. Clearly I still was like stuttering and fumbling over my words a little bit, but I just wanted to get the message out there because it's a liberating feeling when you start to recognize this. And unfortunately for me, like I said before, a lot of the times these cycles would appear when it's like last minute, like, no, I need to do this, I need to do that. And so now a major thing that I'm working on right now is not needing to do things out of like necessity or out of like my back being up against the wall. Like, I only have this option or this option, and I need to choose right now or else, something bad is going to happen to me. Like, I'm tired of feeling that way, and I'm noticing myself feeling that. And again, for the last month, right, it's just been this constant cycle of that, and I've been recognizing it. And so being able to like verbalize and understand it and recognize it and pinpoint it and like now release it and work on not feeling that way is just like, I feel like it's a huge step in my journey. And I feel like it's something that maybe I would have been able to do if I was just working a traditional job or if I was continuing life how it was a couple of months ago. But I feel like because, again, I've had the time and the opportunity to take a step back and to see this for myself in real time and to be alone and to not have as many distractions, I feel like, I don't know, I just feel really like blessed, honestly, to be in this situation, be in this scenario. So that's all, you guys. I'm going to get off of my soapbox now. I don't want to keep going on and harping on the same point over and over and over again. But just know, if you are in this scenario, it's going to feel crazy. It's going to feel bad. You're going to be like, why am I doing this to myself? But just keep pushing through, right? The awareness is the first step to change. So know that you can do it. Know that it's possible, and know that your simple awareness of these behaviors, of these thoughts, of these actions is enough to get the ball rolling for you to change. Okay. So don't get discouraged. Don't think like, oh my gosh, like, this is just too much, I'm just gonna keep acting like this forever. It's not true. Unless you tell yourself that it's true, it's not true, okay? So thank you guys for watching. Please make sure that you like, you comment, you subscribe. Of course, let me know what you think about the video. Let me know if it's relatable, if you are going through the same things. I would love to talk about it. And I'll see you guys at the next one, okay? Bye.